Isn't it great to have a theme song? Oh, I am a vision, so I can completely. Anybody ask you who I am, what you gonna tell them? Stand up tall, look them in the face and say, I'm the star up in the sky. Come on, guys. This is a 7th inning stretch. Let's go. When your back's against the ropes. Woo! We are the world's greatest. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome. To overcoming the challenges of mentoring. Successful mentoring doesn't just happen, it is planned. Give me just a second, because my tool, don't you love technology? Okay, there we go. There we go. I am Kim Crayton. You can find me at Kim Crayton1 or Junior Dev Mentoring on Twitter. Please tweet. Love social media. That's how we connect. I am what they call a community engineer. A community engineering is the intentional and skillful effort of creating environments that support and share the common attitudes, interests, and goals which result in more productive and diverse and inclusive communities. So how I define this is I take the heart, not hard, the heart of people's desires and help them turn them into actionable goals, actionable, measurable steps. You can have the best mission in the world, but if you don't know how to measure it, benchmark it, it means nothing. So these are some of the things that I'm working on. I have Junior Dev Mentoring, which is an open source project. I have 100,000 intros to code, which is I intend by my 50th birthday in 2 years to have introduced 100,000 people to what coding is. And I need your help. I work with a group of people on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, helping them get ready for technology jobs. I do a mentoring minute every weekday morning, and it's just a 1-2 sentences, inspirational kind of thing. I'm working on a curriculum called ABCs of Coding because I believe how we introduce people to code is not an effective measure for method for most people. We're introducing people to code at web development. That's 3 languages. Most people who start don't even know what a variable is, so it's just way too complicated. I have a blog, or used to have a blog called Tech Talk for Non-Techies. When I'm on the road, I do community engineering tech talks where I go meet with underrepresented people in the community and talk about what their needs are and how we can best, as a developer community, bring these people in. And I'm also getting my doctorates in business administration, technology entrepreneurship. And my doctoral study topic is strategies some software development managers use to mentor junior software developers. So as you can see, this stuff is I'm very passionate about this. And my current project is the Kaya project. So it is a social networking platform that allows content creators from underrepresented communities to build a community. And that's there's a landing page. If you know anybody who's underrepresented or you're underrepresented community and they blog, they do podcasts or whatever, I'm trying to create a safe space for everybody to participate and then build an audience from there. So my background is, for people who want to know, besides getting a doctorate, I have a master's degree in training and development. I've written curriculums, I've done workshops, I'm certified special needs, so I work with K through 12. I work with college students, and I work with people almost in the grave. So I have the whole spectrum. And so my journey started in August of 2014. As an only child, one of my greatest fears was dealing with the death of a parent. So my father passed away from cancer in 2014. And I didn't die. Although I was devastated, I still had to go on. And being in education was not something I wanted to continue doing. it was the thing that I said, if I faced my greatest fear, the thing that I thought would kill me, it's time for me to say, screw this and do what the hell I want to do. Up until that time, I was a person who was very interested in tech. I was more than a consumer, so when I watched the Apple keynote, I didn't watch it just to see what the new products were. I didn't watch it at the developer level because I didn't even know what development was at the time. But I was interested in why they put that button there, why they didn't put that button there. Why did that, oh, they're not, so if you're Android people, no one can talk to me about Android products. I get what their purpose is, but I love how Apple explains stuff. It really helped me just really get it, like, or when I wanted to build a website, I went on YouTube, found some WordPress stuff, and built some websites. So that was the kind of technology consumer I was. So I went away to Maui a few weeks after my father's funeral, and I sent back a text. I had a cathartic moment where I just cried all day, and when I was done, I was like, sent back a text, I'm leaving education, I'm going into tech, and yes, I put it in quotes. When I figure that out, I'll let you know, because at this point, I had no clue. And I would tell you that that's how I live most of my life now. I just ride the wave, and whatever comes up is what I deal with. So I came back, and I started going to tech conferences, and I was like a kid in the candy store. I was like, oh my God, connected technology is called Internet of Things. Oh my God, I have an undergraduate in interior design. There's something called UX, UI. Oh my, I was just like like other people would just be fascinated if they went into the toy store. I was going to conferences like, oh, what? I went to my first JavaScript conference and didn't even know what JavaScript was. Had no clue, but I was just in the room because for me, being black and female, this tech is like being Superwoman. I get so much stuff for free. Oh, you gotta love diversity. For the first time, being black and female in the South is working for me. Boy, I'm riding it. I have been to Scotland. I have been to Puerto Rico. I'm going to Germany. I'm going to Italy. I take a whole bunch of mini vacations. I am loving you guys, I swear. There was no way I can get this free stuff in education. No way! So I'm just like, what? So I was like, okay, for me to really get this thing, I need to learn to speak the language. Okay, because you know I'm an educator. So I'm like, okay, I need to learn to speak the language. And by the way, people keep telling me coding is easy. Wow, this thing, go ahead, Kim. Yes, Kim, do it, Kim. This is easy. Lies. Oh, such lies, such lies. Which led me to write this blog post. Stop lying to newbies. This shit's hard. It's not impossible, but it's hard. Like learning anything is. It's hard. And we've devalued the learning process in this field. And that's why I'm here. We think about how we are in the space now, wherever you are on your journey. But for a newbie, this is learning a new freaking language. This is the Wild West. There is no path. Every man is a pioneer on the frontier making this stuff up. I could be a taxidermist today and wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to be a developer, and that happens. You can't be a medical doctor like that. Can't become a lawyer like that. But it happens. That's how it is. So this shit's hard. And so, but we know it's needed. There's so many jobs. There's so much opportunity. Atlanta is kicking butt when it comes to technology. People are asleep, and I want you to stay asleep because we have bad enough traffic. But people are asleep on Atlanta. We have, where other cities have fintech, or Silicon Valley has, startups, and Durham has the medical, the research medical triangle. We have all of that and so much more. Atlanta has fintech. They have entertainment tech. They have sports tech. We have gaming. We have great universities, great hospitals. We have the CDC. We have Mercedes. We have Porsche. We have Honeywell. So this is like, and we have great startups and great co-working spaces. So it's like this oh my God, it's a great space. And so there are not enough developers out there. So whether you like it or not, we're coming and you need us. So this just talks about just the number of jobs in Atlanta. There are a lot of jobs, and I'm sure they're the same everywhere you are. Wherever you live, there are a lot of jobs. So there's an ongoing mantra within the developer community that, there are far more jobs than developers to fill them, but no one's happy about it because they can't find the talent. First of all you people who are looking for seniors, every senior has the job they want. So unless you have a whole bunch of money to lure them from where they are, you better be looking for new talent. And that's the issue. We have all these seniors and people trying to learn the code, and there's a big vacuum. And without mentoring, how do you get those people to where they need to be seniors someday? Because we keep putting it off. And in 5 years, some of these old seniors are going to be out of the business. And where are we going to be? The challenge is not the number of people entering, it's their leaving. Because this stuff, I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of not quality information out there for newbies. There's a lot of let's get started, you'll learn how to code in 90 days. You'll learn some syntax in 90 days, but you are not junior dev ready. There are boot camps that don't take into account learning style. So they have one way of doing it, and if that doesn't fit your one way, you've just spent $12,000 on a curriculum that just doesn't fit you. You guys are overwhelmingly generous. Coming from education, I've never heard of open source. That was like, yeah, right, you got me. You think I'm about to take this and you come back and bring the FBI after me? You crazy. Nope, not gonna do it. I don't have to cite anybody. Wait, whoa, stop. I can go into my inspect element, not only look at the code, but I can take it, repurpose it, and I don't have to attribute anybody? That's bullshit. Yeah, no, that's not working. You're not getting me with that. It took me a long time to get the fact of the whole open source thing. I get it now because it helps with innovation. Why recreate the wheel when you can take the wheel and make it into something better? But they don't do that in education. They just keep using the same freaking wheel over and over again. It's broken, it has holes in it, they patched it up, it's still not working, but they keep running with it, and they keep funding it. And also, you can make a mistake. You get paid to make mistakes. I do this every time I speak. Raise your hand if you know any other industry besides the technology where you don't have to come in as an expert. Exactly. Every other industry, they hire you for your expertise. When I went in as a teacher, when I go in as a curriculum developer, they are hiring me because I already know something. Not they're paying me to learn a language. No, not if I have 1,000 lines of code and it works. The first time people are like, no, something's wrong with that. You need to put that through a debugger. You need to do something because that doesn't work on the first try. That's the mentality of it. So there are a lot of paradigm shifts that people need to make. And let's be honest, the cost of recruiting is ridiculous. And how I just received today a call and an email from a recruiter asking me, now, before I say that, in all of the things that I told you I was working on, did it say anything about JavaScript? Do I want a senior JavaScript position in Birmingham, Alabama? What the hell? So you decided to call, leave a message, and send an email? For a job that obviously you didn't go on my LinkedIn, but you got the information from LinkedIn and you just did not do your research. So that's costing money, but look at this education thing. I cited it because that's what I'm used to right there. You got to prove it came from somebody. It doesn't exist unless somebody already said it. So what we're going to talk about are the 4 quadrants of mentoring because we need mentoring. How does a junior understand that? Because again, these courses are selling you a load of crap. How do they know that sometimes it takes a while to get a development environment up? They don't know that because you seniors aren't being honest about it. Oh yeah, you guys are perfect. You never make mistakes. You just start typing and oh my God, your text editor is full and things just work. You're not telling newbies that no, I had to throw away all my code today. It just didn't work. So Because everybody's saying how easy it is, and you guys aren't being honest about how hard it is, they turn it in on themselves. They internalize it and say, there's something wrong with me. Why can't I do this? Maybe this is not meant for me. Maybe it's too much math. Maybe I don't have the brain for this. And we all know that all this is functions, loops, variables, and arrays and whatnot, and some and some critical thinking, problem solving. That's what this is. People do this every single day in their lives. But because we're not being honest about it, and also there's just no straight path to this, they turn it in on themselves and they go back to careers they hate when we need them in this field. So what I do is like to help people who desire to be mentors and people who want mentoring understand the differences between mentoring. So we're going to talk about the differences between personal professional mentoring and youth and adult mentoring. We'll start with youth. Mentoring youth is focused on helping young people navigate adolescence successfully to make a successful transition into adulthood. It's not about me when I'm mentoring young people. It's about them. It's about getting them to be tax-paying, law-abiding citizens who don't get on your nerves. That is the goal when I was dealing with kids. And let me say this right now. All you parents, I don't like your children. Don't like them. And I don't like you. Because what you've done is you have young people believing that the world revolves around them. And I have to let them know, you're not special. You're only special to your parents. They've lied to you. The world does not care about you. They care about, can you get this shit done? And most of them can't because you've been holding their hands for too long. They're so used to, oh, let's show up for soccer. Oh, I got a prize. You sat on the bench. It was a forfeit. They didn't even show up. And that's what they're used to. And then I'm going to hurt your feelings, parents, because I don't care if your kids honors or AP. All they know how to do is take a test. And how many of you take tests in real life? None. They don't know how to critical think. You take that same information and put it in a format that they don't understand, they haven't been tested on or prepped on, they don't get it. So that was my job, to get them to get it. Because you suck at it. You love them, oh my God, but you're not preparing them for the real world. When then they get their butts handed to them and they can't cope. So that was the phone. When you're working with young people, my phone was on 24 hours a day. Good God. That's what it's about. It's one way. It's about getting them to where they can be productive adults. When I'm working with adults, it's a peer relationship. I got to get something out of it just like you got to get something out of it. If I'm not happy in this relationship, it ain't happening. But it's beneficial because it's usually career oriented. So it's not so like a blob. When you're dealing with, there is no end. It's just like you just walk into it and you feel like you just walked into some silly putty and it's just like all over you, it consumes you. That doesn't need to happen when you're mentoring adults. We can like each other. I don't have to visit you for Thanksgiving. We ain't got to be pals. I can clearly draw the line when I'm dealing with adults. But when you're dealing with kids, there are no lines. Personal mentoring, we know how that is. I've had a mentor for 10 years. Is he going anywhere? Nope. I'll have this mentor until he dies because he's smart and I'm not letting go. And he knows it. I'm not going anywhere. I can move anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So it's unstructured and open-ended. But professional, you better have benchmarks. You better make it measurable. You better be able to give constructive criticism. They better be able to take constructive criticism. And that's how you do mentoring in a professional with adults. And that's what we're going to focus on. So what is mentoring? What mentoring is not? Mentoring is not one-off problem solving, which means mentoring is not Slack or Stack Overflow. Okay, so I don't know if any... Yeah, I just had an issue with Stack Overflow last week. I wrote an article for Free Code Camp, and the editor changed the name to How to Move Past the Trolls and Get the Information You Need on Stack Overflow. And it works because if you know about titles, it's catchy. But what the people who made the comments proved while they were trying to disprove the trolls that are on Stack Overflow, we're trolling on the article. So it's like you gave me information. I mean, you proved what newbies are saying. Stack Overflow is a great place to find information. Why reinvent the wheel? But you're not open and welcoming to newbies. You downvote them. You give them snarky answers when it's not necessary. I could see, and this is what I kept saying to people who were saying, Stack Overflow isn't that bad. They don't have that many trolls. One troll is more than enough for somebody who's learning. When you think about if you had to learn something new today, it's like a snake when they shed their skin. Snakes are hell any other time. But when they shed their skin, they go somewhere to hide until their skin hardens up again because they're vulnerable. When you're learning something, you're vulnerable, especially as an adult. Now you're learning that you can make mistakes, all these things. And then you ask what you think is a simple question or not even a question that you need to answer to move on to the next thing that you're trying to work on. If somebody gives you an asshole answer, it's hurtful. And so it's like, if that's the case, then you need to make Stack Overflow a closed environment where people have to read the instruction of how to ask and answer a question. Without that, you can't get mad at people when the first thing they come up in a Google search is something on Stack Overflow. You have to think about it from a newbie's perspective. They've probably never even seen Stack Overflow. They see all these answers, it's overwhelming. They don't know. How many of them know that you can search for other answers? They don't. It's the first thing that came up in Google. Slack is not mentoring. It's not casual, and it's not static. It evolves. What mentoring is, it is a relationship. Relationship. And I don't know about you, but the relationships that you care about, you put time and effort, and you consider them. If you're going to be late, you call them and say, hey, I can't make it, or I'm going to be late, I'm going to be this late, or whatever. It's a relationship. You respect each other. It's personal. Now, again, I ain't got to be in your house, but it's personal. It's a connection. It's a commitment, and it can be professionally transformational. So factors for effective mentorship. From the mentor's perspective, you have to understand your role. It is vocational support, psychosocial support, and role modeling. That's what you're doing. So you're helping them with preparing for work. You're supporting those insecurities that come up. And you're role modeling, hopefully, best practices. And you need to evaluate your motivation. Because I'm going to tell you, a poor mentor is worse than having no mentor at all. If you become agitated when people ask you questions, the same question several times, please stay away from people learning the code or any learner, because you have to understand the learning process. And again, this is where these curriculums don't do well. When someone's learning something, they'll take 2 steps forward, but they're going to take 10 steps backwards until they figure out how to connect the steps. So they're going to ask you the same question they asked you yesterday in a different way today because it didn't click, because they don't have it yet. It's not in their groove. Also, be honest about assessing your time, your temperament, and your talent. Sometimes you don't have the bandwidth. They'll come to you and they want a mentor, and you can say, I can help you with that, but I know I have a project coming up in 6 weeks, and all I can give you is 6 weeks of my time. And that's fine. And you have to be able to set realistic goals, because newbies don't have realistic goals. Again, people told them this was easy, and after a 90-day course, they were going to be making $70,000. They don't have a realistic idea what this is all about. And they think learning syntax is the job. If I can put that curly brace where it needs to go, I'm good. I got this job. And if you're a mentee, you need to understand that there's reciprocity involved. This adult is giving you their time, and you need to respect that. And you need to have identified goals. What I love is someone who'll say, I'm Kim, and I get it all the time, I'm looking for a mentor. Okay, what do you want to learn? I want to be a web developer. Wow, that's huge. That's not measurable. You're going to have to come back with something. What do you mean? Because everybody has different ideas of what web development means. Are you going to use different technology? What are you trying to do? And then once you talk to them, you break it down, and they want to do AI or something. It's like, what? But because everybody's talking about this thing, or they want to learn React, but they know they're looking at a company that does something in Angular or Python, or they want to go into data science. And so they don't have that information. So they need to come with identified goals. Don't just say, I want to do that. What? No, it needs to be something that's measurable. To become a web development, the web developer takes years. I'm not investing that kind of time in you. Sorry, nothing personal. And reasons why the community needs it. The industry needs to do a better job at recruiting and retaining the numbers of new developers we need to fill current and future jobs. As we speak, there's an industry that's dying, and there's an industry that's growing that does not exist. And we need people in those positions. Newbies find it hard to level up on their own. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know I hate when the first thing that comes up is Wikipedia, because that means I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. And 2 hours later, I'm on got 20 tabs across the top, and I still don't have an answer to my question. Newbies don't know, they don't know how to evaluate stuff. Anybody can put anything on the internet. So they don't know how to evaluate that. They don't know how to level up on their own. So again, learning to code is hard, and without a reality check, they feel it's impossible. And since there's no clear path, it just varies greatly. Where some people may have been coding since they were 5. They need different kind of support than that person who just saw an article on coding and decided, hey, this sounds like a fun thing to do. And positive mentoring relationships improves the mentee's level of organizational engagement and participation while lowering turnover. This is important for all the people who are in organizations right now who are in this room who say, oh, I don't want to train a newbie because in a year they're going to go. They're not going to go because you train them. They're going to go because your culture sucks. So that's what you need to fix. Don't blame them because you trained them and now they have the skills to go to a place where they are a better fit. You work on your culture because it helps lower risk. If you have a great a mentee or a junior and you put time into them and and the culture works, they will bypass making more money because the grass is not always greener. There will be some who just are after money, and that's just life. But the majority of people, particularly when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, women will tell you culture is the asset that sells them. No one wants to go in a culture where they feel that they're going to be ignored. And again, this is a side note. Diversity and inclusion are not the same thing. You can have a table full of every nationality, and if everybody at that table doesn't have a voice, they're not included. So please do not confuse diversity with inclusion. Pet peeve. So everybody likes to label things. Everybody wants a label. What we've done is messed up the definition of what imposter syndrome is. By definition, and it's a well-researched topic. Again, I'm the researcher, right? It is somebody who is at senior level who still doubts their skills. A learner does not have imposter syndrome because they don't have no damn skills. That's just the honest truth. So you wouldn't tell a baby who's trying to walk, get up, you have imposter syndrome. No, this is what you actually do. Oh, that's so cute. Hey, get out the camera. Oh, he failed. Oh, that's so cute. And you encourage that. That's what you need to be doing to newbies. Oh, come on. You can do it. How do you make that loop work? Come on, you got it. Come on, I know you can make that function. Come on, you can do it. Don't give up. That's what they need. They do not have imposter syndrome, so please stop saying it. And if you hear a newbie saying it, please correct them. I like to go, okay, stack overflows. I love it. So they got some data from the survey. The common misconception about developers is that they've all been programmers since childhood. That's what the average person outside who says this is not for me, this is for them, they can only do that. This is what they think. They think, oh, I can't fit. They've been doing this for years, and this is so much math. How many of you do math other than adding, subtracting, multiplication, and division? If you're not building algorithms, which takes a PhD, you're not doing any hard math. But people still have that in their heads. And we need to debunk that. They have less than a year of experience. I mean, look at the ranges. These are the people who've just been here. They ain't going nowhere. And there's some of them in the room. Those are those people. But the average person, we're right in this area. What about formal education? Only people who say that formal education is important are people who are getting computer science degrees and they're going into algorithms. That kind of stuff where, Google's reaching out to them and to building these things. Let's be honest, most of the stuff that we're building is not life or death. And you're maintaining somebody's old code, so you need to be able to read code. You need to be able to, if you're changing it over to another language, you need to understand that language. But it's not something, you can get everything. Somebody just passed on a complete data science program that's online for free. Everything you need to become a data scientist, and you don't have to go to anybody's school. You can take every class on Coursera and be qualified. Lynda.com. Does not require a degree. And how many of them? Self-taught. That's why we need mentors. The majority of people are not coming out of school. And let's be honest, let me say this. Most of the people who are coming out of computer science programs do not know how to program. They know how to think. They know how to solve. They're like engineers. They know how to break down problems and build algorithms. But they're not taught programming. They use programming as a tool. But they are not able to build an app. They use Python to show data or that kind of thing. They're not using program as you guys are. So even they need assistance. How do people ask me all this all the time? So I wrote about project-based learning. You guys are working on projects every day. That's what you do. You work on projects. So let's go again. Let's use the example of that person who says, I want to be a web developer. Well, we understand that the basics, but until they figure out what the hell they're talking about, the basics of web development is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We know that, right? That's universal. So let's break it down and say, okay, let's start with HTML. We're going to do a project. Explain to them, or if you don't have time, you don't even just give them an outline. So it's going to take a planning up front and say, give them a document where you just put text in. I need you to mark this up with tags, HTML tags. So they go away, they mark up the document with HTML tags, and then you sit down with them and have them explain to you why they use a tag instead of another tag. That demonstrates knowledge. That tells you if they know what they're doing and can move on to the next thing. That's a project. Everything doesn't have to have 20,000 moving pieces. So once they really grasp and understand how to use HTML tags effectively, then you bring in a little CSS. Okay, with this same document, why don't you style it up a bit? And then they do the same thing. Because how many of you, let's be honest, still have a problem with the box method? Come on now. That doggone box is hell. Especially for newbies. We're like, what? Padding and margins and what's on the inside and borders and then something fits and then you get this thing and then it shoots up to the top and you can't get it to go back down. It's supposed to be the footer and all that takes time for them to grasp. Those are mini projects. So again, you see, it doesn't have to be this thing that takes so much of your time. A 15-minute conversation to get them to, and then you connect the CSS with the HTML that they're doing. And then, okay, not all of JavaScript, good God, no. You have a button right there. Can you make that button do something when you click it? One thing. And you can't use jQuery. So now you got that button to do something, add a page so that button goes somewhere. That's how you do it. You break it down into these little bitty steps. All these other things have people doing zooming through curriculum, zooming through things, and they can, once they get the bugs out and they debug it, because that's all they're doing, and they get it to work, they think they're programmers, but that's not, because they don't understand how that thing even worked. And then the salary. People who are in I don't know how they got over 100 on these things, but we just gonna go with that. All of them, I just don't, what kind of math that's doing. But as you can see, people with mentoring programs had greater salaries. So I want everybody to do a little self-assessment. Put yourself in the role of a mentor or a mentee, and think of, we're not going to do three. Think of one strength and one challenge that you bring to the role. If I'm a mentor, I have one strength that I bring to the role of mentor, and I have one challenge that I bring to the role of mentor. What is that? If I'm a mentee, I have one strength that I bring to that role and one challenge. And if someone wants to raise their hand when they figure that out, because what I'm going to do is demonstrate how you overcome your challenge with your strength. Anybody? There you go.
Strength is I'm self-taught and not that long ago, and that gives me a lot of insight into how to do it and what it's like to do it right now. My biggest challenge would be time.
So, again, you have self-taught. So you, in particular, since you're recently self-taught, you still remember the pains of learning yourself, and so time. Not really an issue when you break it down how I just explained it. Could you see yourself doing it that way? Could that help you with time? If someone says, I want to, but they have to be very specific. So if they're not specific, have them go back and say, do a Google search and come up with 3 things that you like to build. Find 3 websites that's something you would like to build. So now you have examples. So it's not just this nebulous, because people say that websites, that could look like anything. So find 3 examples, right? Pick one, then you guys talk about why this website is, and why you chose that one, and then together you pick the one website. Then you break it down into parts. So with that, in the beginning it'll take time because you need to look at it yourself, look at the source code or whatever, and see what it took to build that. But other than that, you give them a sheet and you check off when they come, and then by the time they've built the website. And they've been able to explain to you why they've done it that way. And it also helps you as a mentor, because how many of you are using tools that right now that you really don't know why you're using them? You're just using them because you've always used them. When a mentee asks you that, you better have a good answer, because if not, that means you need to rethink your tools. So it helps you as well. So it's not one-sided. Or there's a concept that they're struggling with. It forces you to figure out how to get them to understand it, which makes you a better developer. Because now you can see problems from a different perspective. Anybody else? Yes.
Strength would be communication, weakness would be patience.
Okay, let's talk about patience, because now you got me concerned that you even need to be around learners. Okay, so because I know you got 5 kids.
That's right.
So maybe your role is not to be with students, but to support them in another way. And that's an honest assessment, because if you don't have patience with somebody who's learning, again, you could do more harm than good. So how you can support them is you can help them network. Because a lot of them are afraid to go to meetups. Say, you know what? Instead of helping you with this, every time I go to a meetup, I'm taking you with me and I'm going to introduce you to 3 people. That work?
Yeah, that works.
All right. One more? One more. All right. So that's the self-assessment. So think about that and how you can use your strength to help you with your challenge. So this is how you can get involved. At Junior Dev Mentoring on Twitter, sign up. There's a link to the Slack channel. Please sign up and go in. We have people in there mentoring right now. There are people, and again, that's not mentoring. What it is it's a platform for them to build relationships. So then they go to juniordevmentoring.com, and they make a 1-year commitment to mentor this person meet them a minimum of twice a month in whatever format they want to. And they've made a commitment to mentor somebody once a month. But mentoring, the Slack channel helps people build those relationships. So there are people on there from Walt Disney mentoring. I mean, let me tell you, I'm just gonna side note. I got up, this is again me riding a wave. I got this idea on a Thursday morning. I was like, hey, let's start a Slack channel. 24 hours later, there was 124 people on this Slack channel. I was like, Christ. I was not expecting that. I did not have a code of conduct or anything, so I was in like backup mode, trying to figure out how to make this happen. But from day one, we've been building the community, so I said, hey, we don't have the code of conduct. Anybody want to take on that challenge? A team got together and do that. Hey, that thing was still on my personal repo, so they moved it to our organization's repo. I was not ready for this at all. They moved it to our organization's repo. When people put resources on there, Paperbot grabs them, and then the resource team puts them on the GitHub page. So they are working. And so you can come in. We have all different languages on the channel, and just come in and help. They would really appreciate it. I would really appreciate it. Also on juniordevmentoring.com, what I'm trying to create is a place where people can find internships, because there are a lot of internships out there, but no one knows about it if you don't know the person at the company or whatever. And so it shows the community coming together. I believe in putting information in one spot. Why have somebody go to 20 things when you can go to kayak.com and get all the stuff you need? Also with the 100,000 intros to code. All this is you making a commitment to find somebody in your life, because I bet you the majority of people in your life have no idea what you do every day. No idea. You say code, they say medical transcription, and I'm like, no. So you're making a commitment to take your mom, your cousin, the man down the street, and say, hey, this is what code is. This is why you should care. And if you're interested in learning, this is how you should learn. That's it. It's a simple conversation. Because we need more people to understand about computational thinking. That's all that is. And most people don't realize that they're doing computational thinking already. If you think about it, how I try to explain it is, a recipe is a function. The ingredients are an object. The pepper is a variable. It's only pepper because we call it pepper. We could change the name to anything we want to. How many times how much pepper I put in there is a loop. And when people think of it like that, and you explain it like, oh, you're doing it already. How my grandmother went to the grocery store was definitely a loop. She did the same, a function, a wild loop. I don't know. Oh my God, I hated going to the grocery store with that woman. She would put, the same route. They knew her coming down the aisles. So that's all you have to do with that. And so I have to say, I am Kim Crayton, and thank you.
I am a giant. I am an eagle.
Everyone, please, thank you.